take that which Allah has blessed you with, your talents, your knowledge or whatever, and try something that you may not know that you may be good at, but who knows what Allah will bless you to see, the benefits of it. I remember, and I'll finish up with this comment. I remember Imam Muhammad told us when he assumed the leadership of the Nation of Islam and he started his teaching, he told many of us, particularly me, and I remember it like it was yesterday. He said, I encourage all of those who have the aptitude to go back to school. No matter where you stop in your formal education, go back to school. And go as far as you want to go. You may be able to get a BA degree, you may even go for a master's degree. And some may go beyond that. But go back to school and get your education, because you do not know how valuable you will be to this community with that education. And I saw that message two ways. Number one, he was saying, this is not no white man's world, no white man's education. Allah created it all. It all belongs to Allah. So you go in and you get the best that you can get that Allah has available to you. That was the first message, and I acted on it, and I have been blessed ever since I did it. Starting back from just going to get my GED till I completed my master's degree. Now I'm talking about myself, and I'm only talking about myself just to say, act on that which Allah has blessed you with, and that was the message I got from Imam Muhammad, and with that. And then ever since I've got this education, more doors will open up to me. And now I'm able to be a benefit to not just myself, not just to my family, but beyond that, for this community and for others who are not in this community. I have been blessed. As Imam Elam always teaches us every time he does his kabars during the Friday kabars, during Jummah, he said, we are the best example of al-Islam. They may not ever pick up a Quran, but they've heard about it. They heard about Islam, but the best example is the example that we can just demonstrate. And so the best thing you can do is just be the best example that you can be. So that's what I got from this particular program, brothers and sisters. I hope it's been of interest to some of us. And I pray Allah that you got out of it what Allah wants you to get from it. And so I thank again, Amen, what did Muhammad for allowing me to present here on this first Sunday. And then I'll open up for any questions and comments that I can respond to at this time. But again, thank you. And I give you all the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum. So that's for me. That's it for me, brother Adele.
Okay, yes, sir, brother Akbar. Do you have maybe 2 or 3 minutes for questions and comments?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. If you have any questions or comments for brother Akbar regarding the business and technology presentation, please raise your hand, or for the Zoom audience. Then for the YouTube audience, please enter them in the chat. We'll ask the questions for you. So at this time, if you have any questions for brother Akbar, please raise your hand. If not, we'll proceed to the next portion of our program. I see a mic open. Please raise your hand in the chat if you have a question for brother Akbar or comment. Sister Anna, did you have a question?
Yes, a statement more or less to say that was so creatively presented and on so many levels, so many beautiful messages, especially the connection that our president, Brother Warithuddin, made on a personal level. That was so touching in regards to that whole story. And
I ain't gonna lie, I thought they had my phone tapped. The timing was the time and Robin passed right. That video came out right when she passed. So I remember I was sitting in the car and was, just totally devastated because she had just passed. And I forget who called me and told me to watch that video. Yeah. But I did communicate with her when she was at work, and the situation was, for some reason, she wasn't able to do. Oh, she had traveled. She traveled before she really, really got sick and passed. And I had to do Dawa's hair. So I'm like, this is too many connections. Of course, we have a cat. They could have used a puppy. So Dawa, Cat Boy, and me. And me trying to do something that I wouldn't create. I'm just not built for. That was the hardest. That was probably one of the biggest challenges I've had with any of my children, was trying to do Dawa's hair. I touch her hair, tears come to her eyes.
I mean, I think that's one of the most treasurable moments that a daughter, a baby daughter, could have of her dad doing her hair. I mean,
I took a picture, but she won't. She after that, she protested and she wouldn't let nobody. I was paying like $60 to get her box braids. She said, "I don't want box braids. I don't want nobody putting their hands on my hair." And she been doing her own hair ever since. She braids it up every night and then picks it out in the morning. She liked to wear afro and stuff.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So I just wanted to say what a blessing that Allah inspired you to choose that particular one. And again, the connections and so many messages. It showed the positive, powerful love in the Black family, if you will. It showed such a beautiful, positive, impactful image of Black fathers. It showed this love. At first, I thought the video message from the Umi was a message she had left after she had passed. But then when they got dressed, it was she at the hospital going through her cancer journey. And that was powerful. That was so powerful how she shared with her daughter that she having to lose her hair was still love, and she permitted her daughter to touch her scalp so her daughter could be connected to what was happening. That was a powerful short. I can see why he got the recognition and won. That was so beautiful. And so I just want to say the message on the financial level is also encouraging, because we use the language, and we know that Imam Muhammad taught us about language. The language in this society is the R word, retirement. But in the believer's life, as you just said, Brother Akbar, it's moving to the next journey, the next task. So it's a mindset. So you never retire until Allah say kalas. So thank you for that. Assalamu alaikum, and give my dear sister Venus the greetings from me.
I will. She can hear you. She can hear you. I will.
All right.
She says, thank you, Sister Anna.
Yes. One day we'll be together.
Okay, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, all right. Up next, Brother Akbar, it looks like that was it on the questions. I don't see any questions or comments on from our YouTube audience.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah, I just have one question. And first of all, you did a magnificent job. That was beautiful. And the way you put it together, everything, it was just great. All right. So I just needed to ask one question. And that was, what was the brother's name that did the video?
Yeah.
What was his name?
His name is Matthew A. Cherry, Cherry. And he has a website. And if you just search Matthew A. Cherry,
Mhm.
you can go to his website. There's several books that he has on that he has out in another publication, but all that's at his website. And I would encourage you to go to his website. You get all the information.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, brother Akbar, thank you for the business and technology presentation. Once again, we look forward to see you inshallah next month for November's First Sunday Community Program.
Yes, sir.
So, at this time, we're going to proceed to the next portion of our program, which is going to be the president of the Mosque Cares, the ministry of Imam W.D. Muhammad, Imam W.D. Muhammad II.
Thank you, Brother Adil. Yes. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. I greet everyone with the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And this has been a really dynamic First Sunday beginning program that we appreciate the Muslim Health Consortium for their continued participation and dealing with very, very crucial information that that pertains to community and just everyday life. And these things are invaluable, like what Brother Akbar gives us, the business and technology. And I was hearing, you hear language coming about through in media and different things. I can't recall where I heard recently, but business and technology, they were talking about I think it's another organization, but I still feel that we pioneered that with Brother Akbar, with the encouraging people to have economic literacy on the grassroots level. And I hear that others are starting to pick this up. I was listening to NPR the other day, and I heard them talking about a program that they were putting together, or some other people were putting together for a common people. And so I just congratulate us and you all for this, taking these concerns up. And as I was watching that video that just went off, I was telling Ideal, I said, that's our spirit. I said, that's something that you wouldn't see generally. That's something that in the household of most African Americans, we kind of divide certain activities between the males and the females. Some things that the males don't do, but the females do. But most of us don't shy away from challenges. It's like, all you have to do is say, well, what's wrong? You scared? Or I dare you, and then you got the brother, he's sitting down braiding hair and doing everything that mama did, cooking, washing clothes and everything. We fit in, we try to assist wherever we can assist. And that's the beauty of family and also the beauty of community. If there's a need, it's in our nature to try to fill the void and try to supply that need. And that the connection that we haven't made as a people yet is that's business. That everything that you do that benefits another person potentially can become a service that you'll outgrow, because the better you are at it, the more the need is, the more it's like technology. Like once that technology comes in, it starts to replace other things that were lagging or not really producing like as much as they needed. And now you come with this new technology or these new talents and skills, and that's how people that we look at and wonder, how did they get to be so wealthy? And we look at it thinking that that's not for us. It is for us. So, we have to love each other and be fair by each other. If somebody do something, do like they did when I was little. They would I didn't even have to do nothing. You know, a lot of times the elders would just put a quarter in my hand. They just, you know, they reach out, come here, young man, and grab me. And then I pull my hand back. I got a 50 cent or a quarter in my hand. They say, come here, I ain't seen you in a while. Give you a hug and put some money in your hand. And I really credit those elders for making me not shy to earn money, you know, when I was young and when I needed to be. Now I got my old man with a bad back. So I don't run after things. I kind of negotiate and strategize a little more than I do instead of running out there and doing it. But the youth, we can't forget them. That's what the spirit of most young men have, the spirit to be industrious, and they just need direction and encouragement and support. And that encouragement and support needs to come from us. Yeah. So alhamdulillah. Yeah, and Imam Elam, he's putting he's really done an awesome, excellent job with his class, with the Quranic Arabic class. And I think back about few years that Brother Ajim Muhammad, he conducted those, the Islamic or the Quranic studies, pardon me, the Quranic studies class. And they both did are really doing a great service to the community, and I'm really really appreciative of Imam Elam allowing us to bring Brother Ajin. You know, he was not only just a beloved leader in our community, but he was also a school teacher for many of the young people that identified with him, and he's gone now. He passed, so we pray and ask Allah to forgive him his shortcomings and grant him the Jannah, the paradise, you know, in heaven. I mean, yeah. So if we didn't have the insight or the good sense to, you know, to trust our brother when he said, you know, see, you're not supposed to only be charitable and open arms and trusting of people that you think need that. We didn't do that because Brother Ajin needed that. He could have went and taught anywhere. We did it because we felt his sincerity, and we knew, you know, only Allah knows. We didn't know he wasn't going to be with us, but we opened our arms and opened the mosque cares to him, and we benefited greatly from him. And we partially got to thank Imam Elam for that, because Imam Elam stepped aside so that we could have Brother Ajin for those wonderful years that we had him. And now he's picked right back up. And that's a valuable lesson that I learned, you know, that all good comes from Allah and from my father. You know, sometimes you're not ready to put down the banner until you ready to put down the banner. But, you know, there's authorities and there's situations that are bigger than us. So sometimes we have to do it for the sake of goodness. And I remember I had 2 babies in diapers. I was like, Dad, he took my key to something that I value very, very much, but he gave it right back. So after the babies were, I guess he thought I was hot. I was upset. I was like, this is my job. This is my way. Ain't nobody on walking the face of the earth that can do this job the way I do this job. But the reality said that he was showing me mercy, although I didn't need it. You know, that's why I got a bad back today, because I don't know when to stop. You know, sometimes you got to put that weight down and allow others to help out until you're able to get back in full speed. You know, so yeah, community life. This is what the First Sunday is all about. It's about acting and behaving and participating like we're in community life, like we're a family, like we're one family, brothers and sisters, like we share the same mother and father, you know, and have that love for us, because that's the life of a believer. The believer doesn't make a distinction between one of the God's servants and others, that we see us all as being one under God. And he didn't create any of us for any purpose, any arrogant purpose, or any big eyes and little U's, or other than just to serve him in the manner in which he has commanded us in his holy book, in the Quran, inshallah. Yeah, so our convention Brother Amir, I'm not gonna keep us too long because I know Brother Amir Muhammad is anxious. And while I was talking just now, I've been thinking about him and the scholars that we have, just like the Mons Cares program. Nobody's gonna, outside of our community, our circle, is gonna tell you, hey, did you catch the Mons Cares convention this year? And we put in the little shorts of it, little pieces of it. We're about halfway through the first day, but it's a lot of work and labor goes into that. And I believe people really benefit because I went back and I'm looking at, I look at everything we post and I'm saying, wow, this is really dynamic and I'm really enjoying it. But you're not going to hear about the information that we give unless it's diluted or changed. What our mirrors come with, we didn't get this in school. And I went to African-American school, probably 99% African-American, If somebody was there, wasn't African-American, I didn't see them. They didn't let it be known. That was my entire elementary, secondary, and high school, I went to Clara Muhammad School. And that information just wasn't readily available. So we owe a great debt to scholars like Brother Amir and others that are bringing this information to the forefront. And, and like what doctor would come to his community? You find churches doing maybe similar things, but a platform, I don't think you'll find this in most community programs where there's a community platform that brings this vital information the way the Mons Cares has done and continues to do. So alhamdulillah, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Brother Adil and he can introduce our keynote speaker, inshallah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Imam. And at this time, we're going to, we have our good brother Amir Muhammad, and he is a researcher, historian, author, poet, and he's the president and co-founder and curator of America's Islamic Heritage Museum. Very good brother. He's very serious about his work.
Yeah.
Very serious about his work, very serious about his community, and above all, he's very serious about his service to Allah. So at this time, we're going to turn it over to our good brother, Amir Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
we
sir.
can.
Okay. I thank you, Brother Imam, Brother Wallace, Brother Dale, and want to thank the community for the opportunity to share with you all. Yes, I am excited. So I'm going to try to temper that excitement and begin with thanking Allah and bear witness there is no God but Allah, that Muhammad is slave servant, and that he has blessed us with good servants as Imam Worthy Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, and many others. And for this month of October. Now, I'm going to give you a little background. What I'm going to talk about is the Gullah Geechee trail, which they created in the last few years. And it begins from Wilmington down to Florida, Jacksonville, Florida. Last year, I began in Sapple Island with Sister Aisha Prime, African-American sister that's a scholar. And this year, we did about maybe 4 trips. So what about the Gullah Geechee people. And inside these trips and some of the museums, when we started Myrtle Beach, but really what they call Georgetown. And in here, I've learned so much from these different museums that they have down there. One about our history, one about how they picked us and chose us. Another thing is about the different regions and where they brought us from. The Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Senegal, Gambia, the Gold Coast, Burkina Faso, Ghana. the Gambia, Cameroon, many of these places. And then they brought with us in these different areas, they brought different people, the Fulani and the Gambians for farm animals. You know, and that's what you hear some people tell the beginning of the stories, what they call cowboys, where that many of us African Americans, what they call those boys at the time, took care of the cattle. So they called us cowboys. The Senegal and the Gambia, they brought us in for the rice cultivation. The Mandine and the Senegal Gambia also for crops. The West Coast, they did the crafting of nets, you know, for fishing. So they brought us in for different skills, even going back further, some of the skills they brought in for the ironwork, horse work. In some of the different museums that we traveled. This some of the statistics that we're given now came from out of the museum in South Carolina, the International African American Museum. I thought was pretty good. You know, they talked about how many trips that was done, 366 trips, you know, within from 1501 to 1866. Now, but I want to put in our mind, I want to back up for a second, put in our mindset that we got to look at, you know, two things that they say happened before Columbus sailed the ocean blue. But if you don't look back at history, Islamic history, it was in 1492 was the fall of Granada where they found the maps. And then that's when Christopher Columbus started going to the ocean blue. But then at the same time, that is when the Portuguese started coming into West Africa. And some of these museums, you see that they try to make us think that Christianity had existed at the time of slave trade, but it didn't. Christianity came in, as what we know today, came in with the slave trade, came in with the Portuguese, and it shows the records. And one of the things that they don't point out, and that is the Jewish communities, because you'll find in early history, many African American books, many Africans took on the Jewish faith at the point. Here, they talk about the estimate of how many Africans that they brought to the country, how many made it, how many was lost. How many made it to the Caribbean? 72,000. They say they made it to the Caribbeans. They say the estimate of 4 million numbers were enslaved men and women. And there was different, looking at it, you'll see that there was different type of plantations, and in different type of plantations, they allowed certain amount of different freedoms, non-freedoms, economics. Some of the crops, one of the first crops that were down in this coastal quarter were indigo. Then after indigo, it came rice in some of the regions. Then after rice, you what they call the sea cotton developed. And if you go to the different plantations, you'll see different living style. And with the West Africans, many of the West Africans, they brought in that skill set, what they call the savannah, that low water. You know, that's the same type of water and way set that's in West Africa. So they knew about the drainage. They knew about development of that rice. So that's when they was bringing them in, and for that reason. One of the things they say about unique to the rice slavery was that the task system, rice slave negotiated with the slave driver. Once a driver or overseer agreed on a reasonable amount of work that would be given during the week, the slave set out the task, and after completing the task, the remaining time belonged to them. During this time, they were free to work their gardens, the fish, some even hunted wild game. In contrast to the cotton plantation, which was the gang plantation, which they really didn't have, give you that free time. Now, within there, this is where when we go a little bit further, this is where you'll find where Salih Bilali and Bilali Muhammad had freedom to develop their community because of the time that they had. And also it pointed out this is in the Charleston Plantation Museum, the rice market, how Jenny was known, was a strong sub-Saharan African, a major market. You know, this is 250 beyond before Christ. So the West Africans had a long tradition of rice development, as well as the development of metal work, you know, and from Mauritania. And the Mauritanians were some of the first people that they enslaved. These are some of the first that the British, I mean, the French, the Portuguese was coming down. So you see the work within there. The other points that they talk about, some of the things that the West African brought, you know, what we know about yams today. I talked about the development of the rice. One of the things that's unique, that they look at the Gullah people, and many of the early Gullah people came from Islamic traditions, was the love for God and the belief in faith. And as we go down, you're going to see some of the tradition and the rituals that they produce with them. So this is some of the information that was available in the South Carolina International Museum. Now, the Gullah Geechee people, you know, they come from a broad range of parts of West Africa. But a lot of Senegalese, Gambians, Angolas, a mixture, then from Caribbeans. People had different beliefs in terms of them. There's one book that's out there that say that the Gullah means the people of God. The God Allah people, the people that believe in Allah. So you have a mixture of them. And if you look at some of the reports and the documents that the enslaved people did investigating the Sea Islands, you know, at the beginning, you know, they did not teach us, they did not allow us to learn no religion, no faith, no practice. So a lot of these things we had to do and hidden this. And then you see after generation of, you know, you'll see the distance or the transition of Christianity and a mixture of African faith being blended together. Here, also in the museum, it shows you, I talked about how many in the transatlantic slave trade, there was 366. 36 ships was documented. 12.5 million people. They estimated that came to the transatlantic slave trade. 1.8 million estimated numbers who lost their lives in the Middle Passage. Untold millions, they say, that lost their lives in violent conflicts. They say that 389,000 of them was in the Caribbean, made it to the United States, in the South Carolina, Georgia, or in the Carolina areas. 72,000 made it to the Caribbean. 4 million is what they estimate. In the museum, what I liked about it as well is that it pointed out some statistics of where we came from West Central Africa. They said it was 47,000 plus that departed, 41,000 survived. And Senegambia, 27,000 plus left, 23 survived. Sierra Leone, 21,000 plus left, and then 18,000 survived. Same thing with the Gold Coast. The Blight of Benefar, the Wild Coast, Windward Coast, and so forth. It shows you the statistics where we came from in there. In Georgetown, outside of Georgetown, and inside, Georgetown have about 9 different plantations that still exist. Many of them are private, but in there, it talks about rice. Georgetown was like a multi-million-dollar town. Rice was king. It was called the Golds. That South Carolina rice was king. And at this point, it says that the slave population was about 85% of the total population throughout the 1800s, just in that Georgetown area, helped producing rice, you know, within there. In there, there's about 5 or 6 different museums that's down there. There's a couple that's open to the public. One is called the Rice Museum. The Rice Museums talks about the story of this and the slave places that they developed in there. Now, another interesting place that we went to was a museum, and one of the owners was Thomas Lynch, that Willie Lynch story. And inside there in that museum, they didn't allow you to take no photographs, but they had a sword from the Crusaders, the wars of the Crusaders with the Turks, with the Muslims inside. And inside that museum, they had a chair that had a whole, I don't know the story about the Willie Lynch story, but it talks about it was in the Caribbean in Barbados, and it had the gunshot hole in it. But one of the Lynches was Thomas Lynch was one of the signers, and it's in the Hope Sweet plantation. Come to find out that he had owned over 7 plantations all throughout. His name was Thomas Lynch Jr. in there, and it shows. Now here, this is one of the highlights of different plantations. Like this hop plantation. I hope, inshallah, that I'll be able to show a video from it. What they did, it was one Easter on that plantations, and it had these youth performing for some of the guests that was there, and in there they was doing the ring shot. I'll talk that in a minute. But before that area came, as I talked to you about the Spanish Inquisition, the Spaniards, once they conquered the Muslims, they started conquering the places where the Muslims had ruled. And that's why you find the Spaniards in the Caribbean and other places in the Western Hemisphere, places where that Muslims have ruled, even up into the Georgetown area of South Carolina. It talks about the Spaniards coming up in there, and the Native American Indians. That's another thing. Tribes are still in that area, but what they developed once again was indigo and rice, which both of them required heavy enslaved people to produce that product. And it was Georgetown, like I said, man, was king, man. They was producing over 36 million pounds annually out of that area in there. And they talk about the indigo. Indigo is the dye that they use to make the blue, especially when the Civil War broke out. It was regained its strength. And talks about Thomas Lynch, who was one of the writers of the Declaration. Now, in here, in that Georgetown, Myrtle Beach area, there's some of the museums and sites to look at. Is the Rice Museum, the Gullah Museum, the Western Heritage Museum, looking at the African American Heritage Trail, the Freewood's Fort, Hopcomb Barney. This Mechanicsville is a village, is a community, as well as Plattersville and the PD River Rice. These are communities that were former people that were enslaved. Now coming into Charleston, what we did, we visited the Sullivan Island. Sullivan Island is like the Ellis Islands of the Africans. Sullivan Island, it was the island where they brought us in. The detox, the cleanse us and prepare us. Mount Pleasant is an area that's out there where they do the make the baskets, still had the tradition of making baskets. Then Bloom Hall Plantation and the Macomb Plantation. The Boone, then with the Sullivan, out at the Sullivan is this historical marker, looking out at the fort, looking towards Fort, talking about our arrival there and the treatment and how they brought us in that area throughout the Sullivan Island. This here is also talking about the fort, where many of the battles was there, where the African Americans were. Here This is heading towards Sullivan Island. This is a cemetery where African Americans are buried, stones that are set there. But this is a historical marker that they point out and talk about our presence there and our contributions. Now, this here is going into Boone Hall Plantation, which is maybe 40 plus acres in there. One of the things that I like for many of us out of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, it's like pecans. One of the things that he did, he grew pecans out there. And so this is one of the markers in there at Boone Hall Plantation in there. Now, on there, there's different sides of it. Before we went, we crossed over the swamp. At this swamp, there's alligators in that swamp. You know, I had a picture, but to tell, you know, you couldn't really see it, so we didn't do it. But there's alligators in that swamp. These are the homes, you know, of our enslaved people. Each side of these, and each side of these homes are they tell different stories. I thought that was one the revolutionary or those Africans that rebelled didn't want to be enslaved. It talked about the different crops that we grew: indigo, rice, cotton, the tradition of making the baskets out of sweetgrass. Within inside there, these are baskets, you know, that are made. Matter of fact, I've learned there's different levels and different styles that are baskets that are in there. And with the Native American one, the baskets are a little smaller, a little tighter. This is one of the women that are in there that's making the baskets. Inside there, it talks about the two founders of the two early churches, Richard Allen from 1760 to 1831. So now you see, you know, you're starting to see Christianity coming into us in the 1760s, okay? Many of us, you see Joe Bendijala was in 30, Kunta Kinte, a little bit after this, Ibrahim Abdul-Rahman before this, you know, so you see that Islam was in Africa way before this transition started. So these are some of the founders, you know, the Amy Zion Church. Then the next one was Morris Brown, which Morris Brown College is named after, you know, and he was the second founder. And this is in 1770 to 1849. So let's talk about that. Now the building talk about the banjo, commonly played by the enslaved people. Where many of us we use that. That's like the early version of the lute, you know, that we brought over and we created the banjo. And within that banjo, we use music to tell stories, to communicate. You know, the banjo and the drum. So within it tells that story. Another one outside tells the story about indigo and hispis. You know, and the cultivation of that and the different herbs that we use from the garden, from the earth, in order to maintain ourselves. Now here, one thing is that one thing we learned was about the bottle tree. You know, I used to tease my wife and call it a juju tree, you know, but what it is that they believe in the spirit. You know, we're taught in the Quran to believe in the unseen. So many of them believe in the unseen, and they believe that these bottles will capture that spirit and night, and then the sun will burn it out. But this is what they say. Just talked about the capture, not the burn. And there it talks about the different herbs and medicines that we use from the natural earth. You know, we use that natural. We came out of Africa, out of nature, out of the woods. So there's a lot of familiarity, as well as Native American Indians. So both these traditions started merging, and we use these different products to maintain ourselves. Took the rice development, and because rice was their development, rice was a different form of enslavement, and than what the cotton people. with those that what we found that those that was developed the rice seemed like they had a little bit more money. They had tombstones in their cemeteries. The cotton people that developed cotton plantations seemed to have tombstones, or they had a different form of tombstone. And here it tells you it points out some of the personalities, Hager Brown, and the rice work that we had to do during that time. And another thing that I liked about it, it talked about the rebellions, those that rebelled, the Stone Oak Rebellion in 1739, how they had a rebellion in South Carolina. And then Denmark Vesey, his rebellion. And then as well as Denmark Vesey was Nat Turner. Very unique for them to be able to wanted to tell that story. This is Nat Turner's story, in which they instituted many laws after that. And one of the buildings, this is the artwork that they had inside that they found using pottery and other stonework. Because these are some of the remaining houses that we lived in. Now here, this here, and I'm sorry, I'm not a great photographer, and I hope I could read it, but it's talking about the spirituality of the Gullah people, the Geechee people. You're talking about prior to coming to America, the enslaved Africans practiced traditional West African religions or Islam, is what it said. After being exposed to Christianity, many incorporated elements they found meaningful into their belief systems. These values included faith in God, community. We heard the mom or the community life and the value, and one of the things the Gullah people believe in, the community above individuality, respect for elders, kinship bonds and ancestors, respect for nature, and honoring the continuity of life and the afterlife. And it says the Ediso plantation had a praise house, and many of the praise houses, the Muslims, they were their prayer houses, not with the churches, or small structures where the slave African could meet for religious service. Some of the things that the principles that they had was the ring shout, the lining, the seeking, and call and respond. And hopefully that I'll be able to talk about those different levels of call and response. I want to first apologize. This page of the exhibit would have been like a woman on that plantation is talking in Gullah. She's talking Gullah influence. And one of the things that she talked about was the call and response. One of the examples I could come up with quickly, when the preacher's praying, he's talking to an audience, can I get an amen? And then we respond, amen, call and response. Then she's pointed out how that transcended into our music, where that she used the song of Sam Cooke, working on the chain gang. And they're talking about hoo, ha, hoo, ha. And she broke that down. That was part of the Gullah traditions of call and response. And then with that, this computer that I'm working on don't allow me to show that video. I wanted to. Hopefully this album will be able to show. This is part of Mount Pleasant, where that tradition of making that basket out of seagrass still exists today. This is one of the ladies that was out there. Now, going on this Mac Cloud plantation, this plantation was more, this is on James Island. This was more of a cotton plantation. None of those tombstones existed in there. These are some of the houses that they lived in. And the unique thing about this, they say that one of the descendants lived in this house until 1990. Believe it or not. Yeah, one of the descendants lived in this house in 1990. I'm sorry I don't have I better picture this. This here, man, you know, the lady spoke in code above my head, above my language. They call this the witness tree. You know, that is where we got whipped at, where we got hung at. That is the hanging tree. That is the whipping tree, which they call the witness tree. And then talk about some of the women on that plantation and the lifestyle. And on that plantation, they said that they heard the gunshots from the Civil War over across the front windows of the main house. All of this is part of the Gullah Geechee Quarter. And this plantation, you know, one of the things that I found very unique was, like they said, this was more the cotton plantation. None of the tombstones existed into that area. And then it seemed that they were very poor. But that sea cotton, which was a longer cotton, which was a better cotton. Now, Allah is powerful. You know, just like he took it to that Jewish, the pharaohs and them with lices and bugs. They took it to cotton, boll weevil. That boll weevil destroyed the cotton gin, the cotton grove, that industry along with enslavement. Another thing that destroyed the rice was the hurricanes and that salt getting over in between the lines for the rice. So that helped destroy it as well. Now in Charleston as well, there's the International African American Museum. There's the old Slave Market Museum, the old exchange engine, the Charleston Museum, which was good, the Magnolia Plantation, the Aiken Wright House Museum, the African American Sites Tour. Now, the African American Museum is great and it give you diversity and very inclusive. The old Slave Market Museum, what I found to be very unique, and there's one here in Alexandria, Virginia, that is the domestic slave trade, where they stopped the slave trade, importing us in 1808, it's legally supposed to, but they had domestic, that they had more than enough that was children, that they kept us enslaved. So that's what this old slave market talks about in those sites. This is Charleston's talking about the weaving tradition that we have. They talk about the Gullah, the language that we carry over, the basket weaving, the rain shout. Boats. Another thing is that we were maker of boats, battoons. Many of the Gullah cultures, you had those making of boats. In the International Charleston Museum, they got the story of Omar ibn Said. They tell Omar ibn Said's story, as well as the Arabic Quran writing. They tell a pretty good story about West Africa and the West African cultures and diversity. They're pretty good about that within that story. The older Black responses, you know, throughout the Civil War and different events and prior to that. Then the Civil Rights period in that area they talk about. Here, this is also in Charleston, the slave auctions, where they markets where they had slave auctions at. This is that slave market plantation museum, those slave, which talks about really the domestic slave trade that was still going on in the 1830s, 1840s, 1850s, 1860s. And here, this is one of the potteries that they found on one of the plantations that we made. And it talks about our diets and the different things where they found what we ate. about the plantation and landscapes of the different plantations. In there, it talks about the different types of plantations and the different type of works and the living style on them. So you can see the different names. And here, they even come up in some of the areas to tell you the family where you come from, what plantation. And here, it's talking about the West Indians. But when out of the West Indies, really the Africans and the first Europeans, they came out of Barbados is where we came up out of. And then in Barbados, you see early American relationship. George Washington's brother lived in Barbados. There's a house that's a museum in Barbados. And in there, they talked about the Africans that they brought from West Africa. And they did, within there, rum was the key. So it was a sugar cane. Their dollar was their cultivation. Well, that is where many of us came up out of. In here, they talk about some of the islands, Elmina, Goree, Bounce Islands. These are some of the different islands that how they brought us in from. And they brought us in, like I said, for different reasons and for different areas. And then they had that urban slavery. That urban slavery was more the inland, going more up into Orangeburg area, more inland work up in there. These are in there, they had badges. They showed you the different type of badges that you had to wear, being enslaved or being freed. In here, you can see the numbers and some of the names that they had to carry and wear their badges. This is in the Charleston one. This is the free one. You see where it says he's free. And this is where he had to carry his free badge. And here there's something that's Stonewall Rebellion and the revolt, talking about one of the biggest ones and the areas where it happened at. How many people that was enslaved, black was enslaved, as well as this Denmark Vesey. So they do tell our story, we all wasn't here trying to be passive. And many of us had skills. And then here to show you the rice, the tools that they use for making the rice and beating rice, and the different types of baskets that they made. These are some of the stories that are told in the Charleston Museum. This is a big bale of cotton out of the Charleston plantation. In that Charleston Museum, what I liked in it as well is that they told the Native American indigenous story, at least a little bit of it, and the Indians trails. That this Choctaw, I believe it traced on my mother's side, her heritage there. So it talks about one of the chiefs during that time, his name, and his story, as well as your Cherokee, John Ross. And you see how the Cherokees was like a community, and they try to get them moved from community to individuality. The Seminoles are made up of many Seminoles, some of them were runaway slaves, Muslims, non-Muslim that lived amongst the Seminole Indians. And they had two forts. One fort was called Fort Moosa, or Fort Moose, the other one was Fort Negro. And it was Andrew Jackson who started what they call the Gullah Indian War. That one African Americans being enticed, they wanted to come down to live and to escape for their freedom. And then the Creek Confederacy. And this McIntosh. And it also talked about some of the abolitionists, to the abolitionist sisters and their story. talked about your African Americans and their war in the Low Country. Matter of fact, one of the things that I learned, down in there, really at the real beginning of the Civil War, in 1861, the first town was established. The first African-American town called Mitchellville was established in 1861. And one of them that they highlighted was Robert Smalls, who had escaped from being enslaved and became a naval guy. And these are some of the women that worked as nurses in that area. Some of the first African-American hospitals was down in that region. And they talked to them about the free people during the wartime, the bills, and then some of those that was enslaved. This is out of the Charleston Museum. See some of the free people and their living condition, their living style. One thing that they pointed out, I didn't even think about, firemen, Black African-American firemen in the 1800s, that for the free people. So this is one of a photograph of them. Now, for me, Edelsel Island, there's Edelsel Bontany Bay Plantation and Beach, the Edelsel Island Museum, then the Edelsel Beach. We did 2 out of the 3. We did the Bontany Island, and this island, you saw the loss of lives, the family roots. This is what it reminded me of. So many lives that were lost during the slave trade period. This is on this island, all the way down. All you could do is see all these trees right there, just laid out in the water. Water's clean and dirty, but this is what you see out there. This is on Edelsel Island, and this is what I got. So many families that was lost through the slave trade. So many roots was broke out from it. And here, this is called the Edelsel Island Museum. This little museum, this little box, it was the most truthful, most powerful museum that I saw through here. It told our story as it said, yeah, we was Muslims. It admitted to some of our traditions. Here, it talked about the Low Country cooking. This was our Islamic tradition. Bringing the family together, bringing everything that we had, the crabs, the oysters, the shrimp, and the corn, but we put in the pot, okra, and the family ate out of it. And here, this little basket up here is the rice basket that they would flip the rice out. This is one of the flat ones. Here, in here, this is what you did. This is where that picture came from. That story talk about Islam. And here about seeking. When the story they talk about seeking and tradition about seeking is like a Sufi. It's like one of the traditions that you got this. You say you want to come a member of the church. Before you join the church, they put you out in the woods, in nature. Say, learn God, recognize God in nature, get in tune with God. When you get a vision or you get inspired, then come back and talk with us. But one of the things they said in seeking, you want to seek to get your consciousness in line with God. This is part of our tradition. That's our God, to seek God, seek his consciousness. And we seek it through what? Through nature, through our life experience. So this is one of the seeking. The other thing is that call and response. That call and response is still a tradition that we do. Matter of fact, I said the ministers do it. You see it in the ministers. In some of the songs you see it. I was just in a Jumar, this West African. I don't know if it was subconscious. I've never been to a Jumar in West Africa. But in this West African congregation said, Jumar, can I get an amen? I mean, can I get an I mean? Which was probably in context. But that was to me, hey, wow, this is that call and respond. We used to do it in the nation. Come on, teach, brother, teach. That call and respond. of that ring shout. In that ring shout, you see this picture in this ring shout. This ring shout was making tough. They couldn't make go on hard to make counterclockwise 7 times. In here. Now within here, you see this tradition with the hand and then it's singing, different forms. But I pray to Allah, inshallah, that this clipping that I have, I hope I can show this clipping. This clipping comes in, it shows you that they in the rain shout, they had the young children holding their hands like making dua and doing the stepping. So there was also a step that went along with it. Then the lining of a hymn is part of the story. I read about the spirituality and what they say about Islam, West African religions or Islam. And here they say the ring shout is a combination, music, song, and movement with celebratory overtones. Its involvement, shuffling of the feet, stomping, hand clapping, arms gravitation, the participation also moving a counterclockwise ring, slow at first and then building speed. If you ever went on Hajj, after that Ishmael corner, it gets a little bit lighter. Then when you come back around the Kaaba, it gets a little bit tight, a little bit harder. So this is some of the traditions that we still pass down. Bismillah, inshallah, Bismillah. I'm not a high-tech guy. I pray that this comes up in here. Can we see this? Can y'all see this?
We can see the link, Brother Amir. We don't see the video. We do see the link that you're clicking on.
Oh, but you don't see the video.
No, sir.
Let me see if I can get up in here. I think that has to come back with another shear. Inshallah, man. We see it now.
No, we still see the presentation slide.
Okay.
The only other way, I think if you wanted to show us that, Brother Amir, would be to copy
Yes.
that link and place it in another window, open up another window. And then once that finishes there, you can come back to the slide. Understand what I'm saying?
I hear you. Maybe you say open up another window.
So yeah, so like copy that link that's there from your slide. If you can like you copying and pasting, like just hover
Yes,
over
sir.
it, highlight it, copy it, and then try to paste it, open it up in another window.
Okay. That's it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it looked like it
We
might be.
see, is it playing? We see it.
Yes.
Now hit
Okay.
whatever yeah, we see it though.
Okay.
There we go.
It's
And
good.
here it's talking about a plantation, and you wind up being like Easter. And what they're doing is the visit, and they're looking at some of the flowers. Now here you go. Look at the ring shout. Look at their hands. And they show the movement of the steps. That is what I wanted to show with that. So let me see if I can knock that down. I just thought that it was so unique where that they even thought about it. One of the things that I found that many of them looked at, now I gotta go back to share my screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Boy, y'all sure got me being technical.
Hey, man, you stepped your game up, man. You got it going on.
Yeah.
No, man, y'all, man, please, thank you for the
Yes, sir. Thank you.
information. Let me see if I can find it. This is really a bit, I thank y'all for your patience. And here, let me see,
Nah,
because what we trap, yeah, this is the next one at least.
I think the last one we were on was the picture that you had of the ring shout.
Yes. I was gonna skip a couple, but I issue, this we saw.
Yeah, that was where we were at.
But for some reason, I'm not being allowed to play my show. For some reason, it's not allowing me to stop sharing for a minute.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't letting me do a,
Like play it in like a presentation like you were doing.
right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now take your time, get it together. The believers are enjoying it. You know, they're one of the comments is saying, "Assalamu alaikum, this is a wonderful presentation. So much information, education, and that they pray to visit Charleston again, inshallah."
Yes, I would, as I look to pull up, to try to work on pulling it back up. I would suggest that we go to many of the places. Like I really like this little Edison museum. I never saw so much bearing witness to the Islamic component of us in there, from the ring shout, from the seeking, from some of the awareness of the foods. It was not only Charleston, but when it's Georgia, it's all of them. That I found very informative, from the Sullivan Island, the Balloon Hall Plantation, the cotton plantation made me almost want to cry, because the how they treated us, and the money after you watch the rice people and how they lived and how they was able to move about. With it. Okay, now, Bismillah. Okay, can we see my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see it.
All right. Allahu Akbar, mashallah. All right. So we talked about the ring shout. We talked about how they looked at the tradition. I showed that piece of the ring shout. The seeking, and once the seeker makes the desire known to the community, to the religious leader, a spiritual leader is assigned. A shepherd is then, through the process, the seeker then removes themselves from their normal activities to focus on God. They are instructed typically to a quiet wooden area and pray to God. Dreams are also played as an important part in the seeking process and are shared with the spiritual leader during frequent meetings. Once that leader decides the seeker has found God, this leader informs the preacher and the baptism takes place. The seeker is then officially called of the church. So you see the focus that they put in. And some of our brothers before with some of the rituals and tradition, Masonics, and some of the orders and some of these the clubs that that was the tradition that they would do as far as the guidance and try to give information. You know, we're just going off to play now. And then they say the call and response, the oral tradition of call and response plays a robust role in the Gullah Geechee spiritual community in this practice. The preacher makes a prayer or a statement to which the congregation responds out loud with affirmation of personal plea for salvation. The call and response continues today. You know, we do that within that. The lining of the hymns. You got the singers within there with that many times would they say that the preachers couldn't read or write, so they would just say certain things.
Amir Adil just said takbir.
Allahu Akbar. Right. Right. So now that you know the Eston that they call Estonians, you know, those who that served. So now some of these brothers went down to join the Civil War to go fight many of the battles for their freedom. You know, so they talked about it. But one of the things, like there was a town that they developed, they conquered in 1861. You know, you see this the records of the Civil War, 1865, 1864, 1863. You know, the 14th Amendment and different things that they put upon us. Some of the battles, some of the wars, some of the fights, some of the things that they did, some of the families that were there. This is talking about showing the banjos and the drums and the music, the artwork and the tradition that we brought with us. You know, with that guy, whoever that Florida guy, governor saying that slavery was a benefit. No, we brought that to them. We helped them. Okra we brought, watermelon, rice, Benny seeds. There's so many things and dyes that we brought, and that food, this net and that boat is a tradition that you see all throughout of the Gullah Geechee Trail. It talks about some of the dyes, some of the words, goober, which is nuts, gumbo, tote, some of the words that we use that are Gullah words. Jim Brown, Toni Morrison, he got some of the roots. And they talk about the different type of root doctors or medicine men and the different forms from the root doctor, the spiritual healers, then the witch doctors. So there was 3 different forms of doctrines that they saw, and each had a different role, from the spiritual one, from the witch doctors, and to the roots doctors, which was the healing. Rabbit, Baba Rabbit stories. A lot of those were based upon Gullah Geechee stories, Bilal's son Aaron and his stories of his life, but with morals, principles, and moral stories was set to them. So it tells that story in there. See, from the hoodoo, the root doctor, the witch doctor, and it gives you a rational sense. You know, there's books that was out about Dr. Buzzard. During the healing ritual, the conjurer would call upon spirits to offer advice or perform cures. One of the most effective remedies in the healing process was belief in the graveyard dirt, known as the gopher dust. Never knew that. You know, but some of these things, some of the problem that we had, a lot of times not to believe in superstitions. Some of the superstitions that we carried over from West African traditions, as well as Indian traditions and other traditions, we see that we bring in other rituals and superstitions from our traditions that we have to be careful of. So it talks about the Ediso people and the mixture of the Gullah people. And because it was on an isolated area, you saw a certain skill set. See, from here to say farm animals, from the Fulani people from Gambia, blacksmiths from the Senegal and Gambia, boat makers from the Manding people from Senegal and Gambia, the crafting of nets, coastal West Africa, cultivation of fields, Angolas and Ibu, rice cultivation, Senegals and Gambians. Most Muslims was out of Senegal, Gambia. So they brought us for different reasons, you know, for the ironwork, so many other works. Now you come down to Hilton Head, which is a little bit further down from Charleston, between Charleston and Savannah, Georgia. Man, Hilton Head has so much, from the Coastal Museum, the Cotton Hope Plantation Tabby Rooms, the Drayton Plantation Slavery Tabby Rooms, the Fish Hall Plantation Rooms, they got a Gullah Museum, John Pope Cemetery, which a park they call the Mitchellville Freeman Park, Queen Chapel, Fort Hill, the First Baptist Church. Some I don't even mention. This year was a trip. We had some young girls with us, young kids with us. Is about Mitchellville. Mitchellville was a Black town formed and established in 1861. In there, it talks about the community and the process of community life, the spiritual and the praise house. So what they did, they duplicated many of the things in here, in the area, about Mitchellville. Harriet Tubman was down in there during the Civil War as a nurse. It talks about the different people coming down into the Mitchellville area. Robert Smalls, this is a replica of his boat because he stole the boat, or he conquered a boat. In there, they got this Morrison bench. I didn't know it was Toni Morrison bench at the time, but sitting on it's a beautiful view looking over the, I guess they call the marshes into that area. And this is what they call the Baytul. This is the boat. Many of the communities, because of the marshes, you know, they built these boats in order to move about. So you see these pictures of the boats all the time. Oysters, shrimp, fishing. So they was able to eat off the land. This was one of the schools, what they call the Gullah community. You know, we lived on these isolated areas. This is St. James Baptist Church in there. None of them, you see the big cross and all that stuff that you see that came later. But this is the Queen Chapel Church, and across the street was the Fort Howell. They talked about a woman, Sarah Huston, and her living. And here, this is a historic Gullah cemetery. And here you can see down at the bottom, this is the swamp with the marshes. Many on these isolated islands, the Gullah people buried themselves towards the water. They believe in the spirituality of water and going back home, and the closeness of going back home. So many of them on the islands, they had built their cemeteries facing towards the water. This was a Gullah Geechee museum that we visit. And here, one of the things I thought was very unique. Matter of fact, we visited a masjid in Savannah, Georgia on a Friday, and the imam having Gullah Fest. I never ate oysters before. You know, that was one of the things, the tradition of the Alhamdulillah Muhammad. I did try to keep of eating what they call it, the scavengers of the sea. But they had an oysters fest, and they was popping oysters. So the imam gave me some oysters, man. They were the best thing I ever tasted before, man. And a little hot sauce. So this is some of the traditions that we have. And it's called about the Gullah origins, you know, of the different enslaved people are being brought over in isolated areas, being able to maintain a certain amount of freedom because of being rice drivers or overseers of their own. And one of the in this museum, it talked about from slavery to plantations. These are some of the plantations that were out and developed. Spanish Wells is still a community you hear about down in there. Bay Gal, you still hear. Mitchellville, I just showed. Then they show you the family names. They came up out of the area. From those plantations, these are family names that came from there. I have some of these descendants come from Belly and Bella. And show you the foods that we ate. and we use folk songs and stories for spiritual guidance. Here's a talk about the boats being developed. This is an example of a boat, one of the boats being rebuilt. This is at the Gullah Fest. And it's talking about the statistics, how many they brought from, to Charleston and Georgia, from Angola, from Senegal, from Senegambia, from the Bight of Benafar, which is southern Nigeria, Gold Coast. And then you can break down the different numbers and you come up with some numbers. These are more your percentage that they brought in from the areas and from the regions. And they helped us, like I said, we did indigo. Some other props, we saw palmera, wax myrtle, Spanish moss. These are some of the other things that they developed. This was another plantation called the Discovery Plantation. With this plantation, they seemed to want to grow more plants, more agricultural, farming animals, butterflies, the softer things. And there, inside their museum, they tell you about the plantation life, the community institutions, show you about the importance of the water, the food, the traditions that they brought with them, and the skill set, oysters, farming, the sea cotton. It tells you many of the stories of that community, the ring shop, models and dials of the ring shop. Outside of Hilton Head, you got Beaufort, Bluffton, and Dafuski Islands. And each one of them got different places. Now, for me, it was Dafuski. That was like an isolated island, like Sapo Island. But with many of them, they have been gentrified. People have taken over the plantation land and redeveloped it. But they do have a few good museums and stories that they tell you about the people and the beliefs and their tradition and some of the tools and the things that they use on this island. Now, one of the things that I found very unique on this island, you see this soldier. This soldier has appeared 3 times so far. The first time I saw was when I was in Barbados. At the changing of the guards at the fort of the Moors, they had the changing of the guards, but they addressed the Moorish uniforms. The next time I saw this picture, I saw this picture in Fredericksburg, Civil War Museum, and there's a painting of people that look like Civil War people, but there was a bunch of these Zavois, they call them, people, tribes of Algerians from northern Algiers, and they wore these uniforms, and they fought many battles. There's some real pictures that we saw, black and white photographs of group from everywhere, from Kentucky, New York, Kansas, so many places. So I found it very unique that they was found there at that museum on Dafuski, and they talked about them, the Iron Guy, the guy, the warrior. So they talked about the Dafuski people and their tradition, their schools, their education, and what they did in that area. This is one of the brochures that they give you about the island and the different places to look at, and the spirituality, the importance of their spirituality in their lives and in their movement. And there's some of the old tablet rooms and rooms that they developed. Now here, if you look back in history, some of the earliest Jewish synagogues was in Charleston and in Savannah area. By the hotel where we was at in Savannah, we saw this Jewish museum, synagogue. I thought was very unique. Now, coming into Savannah, this here is the First African Baptist Church. Inside this first African Baptist church is on the second floor of all this pews had this Arabic writing on it, which they call a Jami script, old African writings. They also have 2 doors set on them. This is the script that is found on them. Years ago, they used to call it African scribble scrap. Now you can see it as a Jami script. You got a little bit of Arabic in it. Then you got some what they call early Arabic cane is in there. Now across the street from there is a museum. Is a park and a plaque honoring some of the Revolutionary War heroes and an African drummer, a brother from America that went to Haiti and became Haiti's first leader. And I thought was very unique. Now here, this here, which I never even knew, we all heard about the 40 acres and a mule. That's this Baptist church. After Sherman conquered Savannah, they issued order 15, Junior Order 15, stating that they was going to divide the land up with 40 acres and a mule to the blacks. They had over 300 acres of confiscated land. At this church and in this area is where they gave that order. So this is the church, and right across the street is a square in there. This look for and mute, and where that concept and story came out. You know, after President Lincoln was assassinated, his successor in Jackson rescinded the order, but it stopped. But some of us did get that 40 acres. I'm not sure about the mule, but some of us got that 40 acres during that period. This is the area. This is some of the housing that are immediately around the church, the Second Baptist Church. This here is to tell you these are bricks that was made from a plantation. You can see the ironwork and the skill set. This is that square where that 40 acres and a mule story or an order was given. This here is Beach Institute in Savannah, Georgia, one of the first African-American schools. And it was named after Alfred Eli Beach, who was a scientific American scholar. This is a plaque honoring the Beach Institute, which opened in 1867. And this is in Savannah, Georgia. This tells you the story about the Beach Institute, which is a museum now. This here, the largest cell of Georgia's in here. In here, this here is a story that took years for me to piece together. There's an American movie called The Fanny Kimball Story. Talk about her husband on slavery called Pierce Butler. And he went broke on his plantation in Darien, which was a rice plantation in between Savannah and Sapper Island, where Bilali come from, and Brunswick, Georgia. And he went broke. And so back in 1859, he had to sell 436 of the people that he had enslaved. And this is the area where they sold them. And they call it the weeping times, around other sweeping times. What's unique about it for me is that one of the first tombstones that I found in the United States with the one finger was Sambo Swift. He was buried in Butler Plantation. He was one of the few slaves that Butler kept, that he didn't sell. And on his tombstone, he put up the one finger. So in between what I found in America, the first two Muslim communities, one by Bilali and St. Simon Island, another one by Sap Island, I found his tombstone with Sambo Swift. And he's part of the Fanny Kimball story, along with the Pierce Butler. There's this census records where he's saying that he was on Butler Island and he worked as a carpenter, his wives, his son, or his two children, however you want to look at it. And then his 1850 census records. And then the 1900s, that same Molly and his son, and he had a son, Sambo, who was born in the 1840s, and his wife's name was Phoebe. He worked as well as a carpenter. So this is that area where they call Weeping Time, where I'm sure they saw some of his descendants. And inside Savannah, they got one of the first infirmary that was created for African Americans. This is the story there. This is the build. That was the building. This is a trail of oak trees going into another plantation, Warmslaw plantation. This is nothing but a road of oak trees. But this is Warmslaw, a historic plantation. Tell you about the life. This is one of the rooms that they left of the owner's house. Tell you about how they had no time for themselves and their stories. And show you the old tabby rooms of the house, but then it gives you the view that you could look out. Some of it was old rice and the old marsh that they owned. And then they have an area where they do the reenactment, some of the tools, some of the old houses. This is in Wormslow. How we live. And there was a bedroom upstairs. Some of the tubes. You can see the work and how they form their houses. This is leaving. So these are some of the areas: the Beach Institute, the Georgia Infirmary Market, the Laurel Grove Cemetery, which is the old slave burial ground, the Massey Heritage Museum, the Mountain of the Haiti Hero, the Owens Thomas House, the Pinpoint Heritage Museum is where Clarence Thomas come from. These are different sites that be able to see. Like Pinpoint is where Clarence Thomas come from. In here, this is their marsh view. This is the marshes. This is the redevelopment that they put in, and the redeveloping to be able to tell the Gullah Geechee story and the lives, oysters, and living off the land. It tells you, how we lived off the land and how the oysters and crabs, just the big pot, big pot. In order to have the feast. Once again, the boat, the Beirut. Here's the other stories. Now here's the brother, Herman Hine, call him Hanif. You can see him with his crescent. And then you can see their bottles. This is the old cemetery, what they call the old Laurel Grove. And this is where some of my ancestors, those that was enslaved, is buried. And then we found a tombstone with the one finger on it. I'm not sure you can see it, but you can see the one finger on it. We found in that cemetery. We just went in one section as we looked. Now in here, they even giving us no education, so we had to educate ourselves. They had that fear. So this is the reminder of that story of that. And then there's another one, they talk about the cotton. And they bring a lot of money.
Oh my goodness. Wait.
And then these are some of the women and some of the other people that work, pioneers in education. And this was in the Massey Heritage Museum, where it told educational stories as well as Native American stories. In Savannah, the African American medical pioneers. It was a family of pioneers with that. There's a brother that had the first bank. They put a plaque and monument honoring him. Then we come into what they call the Golden Isles, into Sapper Island, Darien, Brunswick, St. Simon. In those areas, you have our leaders, the Muslim leader, Bilali, who wrote a 13-page book in Arabic. His book is housed in Athens, University of Georgia. Some of these are pictures I found, I would say, in the 80s, early 90s, 80s. These are 90s. Of the old ruins of what they call Old Chocolate. This area was Sapa community was, where Bilali leaders was. This book is housed in Georgia today. This is the Behavior Deer Cemetery, which is not in the, by water, but more inland. These are some of the tombstones that we found, some with the crescent, one with Benna, which is in many different translations. Daughter, Mandingo means another, Bambo means another, Vi means another. The name means different names, things in different places. And she died in 1924. These are some of the tombstones that we found in Behavior Cemetery. These are some of the ruins that are left currently now on Sapa Island. This is this house, I would say in the 90s, early 2000s now, how this fell. This is Bilali's area now as the decay. This is their view. And this is their house that they built out of sand, seashells, and tabby oysters shells. This is the first form of concrete which they brought about. This is the church, one of the early churches that they had in that area, Raccoon Block. This is a plaque or a monument honoring those that are enslaved. That's as well as in Darien, which is close to that Butler plantation, and honoring them at that time. So this is that story that we told about the Butler plantation and St. Simon. You got Ebo Landing on St. Simon, which was Salih Bilali, his descendant, Salih Bilali. He brought some of the plantation in the 1940s and it became the Bilali Sullivan estate. This is in the 1940s. You see the name Bilali. And they're talking about them praying, fasting. They're talking about the Saraka using the rice cakes, giving them out as charity. This is where Tony, Daughters of the Dust, many of the scholars get their stories from, where they interview some of the descendants, remember them praying 3 times a day. Friday was the day she called her prayer day, so they can remember these different things I'm talking about. And here, this is the plantation. You'll see that they got, someone still got Islamic names. Like I think this Bakir is Bakir. You see Fatima. I believe this Billy is Bilal. You see a Fatima. You see a Muhammad. You see Ben Ishmael, a Bilali. You see when it's a coffee, which is saying a Fula. Rihanna, Ibrahim. You see the different names that they had on the plantation. Now, on one plantation, which they call a retreat plantation, which is a golf course, which we can't go on no more. This is one of the first hospitals that the African-American owned and they developed. It was a 2-story hospital, which this is the ruins of it now, which is on a golf course today. These are some of the slave houses that is on St. Simon Island off the Hamilton plantation. These are rooms, and some houses, some $1 million houses. This here is sitting at a bench watching out the land, looking out the Ebo landing, the area where the Ebos walked out into the water. And this here is Kingsley Plantation, where the Gullah people go all the way down near. This is a house, and they call it a Moorish house. You see the drawings on it. Here you got a brother with a kufi on and look like an African design on a plantation. And here it's called Sister Majid. She was like a queen in Africa. She was in Jacksonville and had a plantation there. And so it talks about her and the Kingsley plantation. And then some of the remnants that they found in their area, some of the rooms that still exist, some of the old tabbies, all the way down was this tradition that we brought with us from the big bowl of Eton. As I come to a close, I want to thank y'all for your time, the opportunity for me to share with y'all my experience and my travels throughout what they call the Gullah Geechee quarters, from Myrtle Beach to Jacksonville, Florida. I know that was a lot, but I will open up for any questions if there's any questions.
Yes, sir, Brother Amir. Thank you. You say you had time for questions? Is that what I heard?
If it's on y'all, I'm open.
Okay.
No,
Yes, sir.
no, we here to hear you, man.
Yes.
Allah's my witness, man. I'd never heard you were doing this, your research just before the huge phenomena of the internet and all of this technology where you can find any information from anywhere in the world. And I want the people to know that you were out there with your camera, you got on the airplane or drove a bus or a car or whatever, or went out there and you did all this, you did all the groundwork, brother. You should have your own, like a channel, or one on the History Channel. You should be with what them people call themselves, the Travelers Club or whatever. One of them historic.
Inshallah, some will come, man. Some will come, inshallah.
Have you heard of them groups that do that? Because you were doing it. What you did is legitimate research. You didn't just go to the library. You know what I'm saying? You did hands-on, and because of your sincerity and the spirit you had, that you have amassed a wealth of information that the world don't have, man. And now I see a lot of things coming behind you. I see now they put some stories and put some things on TV, and
I know, okay. Allah said, that
they don't do Islam.
Allah says, surely man gets what he strives for. So yes, sometimes when you're a pace setter, there's no map, there's nobody behind you, there's nobody in front of you.
Right.
They come behind you.
I still think you're the only one. You're the only one, because if the history that you have amassed, if it was given to the world and mainly to African American people, we would be proud to be Black. There ain't no shame in none of that. There's no shame in that. And what you gave today, I don't feel bad to be a Black, although they did horrible things to us in the cornfields, the rice fields, and even the sugarcane fields. They put us out there 12 or 13, and by the time you 20, you on your deathbed because they done wore you out, all the life out of you. So we hear little tidbits of things like that, but if we heard the truth about how resilient we were, they wasn't hip to the one, and so that's on there. They didn't know that they should be condemning all these things, and that we found, what I got from your presentation is that we found God, and we directed our fellow man and woman to go and find God so that God would grow, because we knew that was the life of the human family. We knew that would grow amongst us. So even with the dehumanization and the low level they put us back on, that God showed us through us that we were his property, and we back Muslims. We Muslims today. And my father said that they give Abraham Lincoln credit for freeing the slaves. My father said this some time ago. I might not have all of the detailed information, but he said we freed ourselves. And there's proof and evidence in the history that we freed ourselves. We the ones that went and started encouraging and creating a situation that would ultimately lead to us being free today. Yeah. And so, I know you got the history. I know you got it. So I see a bunch of hands up. I'm gonna step back. I get excited.
And God helped us.
Yeah.
You see that with that boll weevil, with the salt water, how he used creation, how he helped us, and how he said that your father said one time, and I see that somebody got hands up. We got two people with hands up. I haven't heard the question yet. Where that your father said that he believed that we're gonna be a cursed people if we don't respond. We
That's
responded
true.
to God. And this is where you see that with the Gullah people, they responded to God, and that European.
And he said that we lived in the days of prophecy.
So we had to redirect that faith And that's why we come into that Jesus thing, or that personality thing, and the
Right.
emotional. Because if we went, when we was directed to God, God was obligated to respond to us. in our cry.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, I see there's somebody that has,
Yes, sir, brother Amir. You want me to go through, or you want to go ahead?
Yes.
Okay, so we do have, we know everyone is excited and eager to ask questions for our great, good brother, historian, researcher, brother Amir Muhammad. Those of you on the YouTube side, please enter your questions or your comments into the chat, and we'll ask the questions for you. Those of you on the Zoom side, please raise your hand. And those of you on the phone lines, we do see you. So please mute your mics still, but we'll call on you. I know Sister Zelly, we see you 770 and 347, we see you as well. So from the phone lines, the 770 will be first, but hold tight real quick. We have a couple people ahead of you. We're gonna go with Muhammad had his hand first, and then we had a 788-936 had their hand. So we'll go with those two first, and then we'll come to the phone lines with Sister Zelly after those two, and then the 347.
Yeah.
So-
And right quick, Amir, I said travelers, it's actually the Explorers Club. If there's some legitimacy to that, I'm like, you should be right up there on that list. It's presidents and different people. It's a historical thing in America, where in the world. And if you get any information on that, let me know what you learn of it.
inshallah, my brother, we're gonna try to
Is it
do
real? Yeah, we'll talk.
offer trips. We're gonna try to offer trips
Okay.
to the area, inshallah.
That'll be great. I put me on the list.
Inshallah.
All right, Brother Muhammad, go ahead with your question.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Mira. Somewhere on the
Walaikum
program,
assalam.
saying that some of the Gullah Geechee land has been trying to be taken over by big developers, trying to get that land from the Gullah Geechee people, from the developers and some, I guess, county people, white county people, trying to take a lot of the land. Are you aware of that?
Yes, in different areas, my brother. We had the best land, bro. I don't know what to say. There's some things like where they showed you the Bilali, the chocolate area. The government owned that land for at least 25, 30 years. But they're taking down some of the descendants of the families may own. Darfuski Island, Sap Island, Tabby Island. But there's no, we had to identify historical, we had to claim our own history. And then all politics is local. You got to make some local noise to scare the boys that you have some bigger people around you. But it's about $1. These people that are selling these houses, the development is looking at a tax base, a revenue base. Well, there's culture dollars that can be brought about. That they honor these places that you can bring dollars there. That is why they did some of these museums.
Some of them they don't want to. Some of them they don't want to sell, but they're trying to take the land from the ones that don't want to sell that coastal land.
Yeah. They take.
They're taking the land from the ones that don't want to sell.
Intimate domain. Man, it's about the dollar, man. It's a sad thing that exists, but Allah will maintain what will need to be maintained. Satan plan, but Allah is the best of plan. There's certain things that they hold and that will allow. Like there's some out parts of these islands you can't go to. Like there's some of these plantations. Man, these people still own. You know who you go get money from that. Allah's in charge, brother. Don't let nobody hatefulness, despitefulness take us off the path and loving God and doing what is right and what is best. Allah will protect and will help. That is what I could say.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Muhammad Kawi, for that question. Up next, we have 936, go ahead with your question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Like my son.
Alhamdulillah. This brother Anthony out of New York. Um, I'm captivated by this. I feel like there's something going through me very, very peculiar as a result of your enlightenment. And you said you'll do tours. I'd like to go on one. And about 3 weeks ago on Study Al-Islam, Sister Fitra said she visited the Boone plantation, and she said, you don't have to go to Goree Island to see our history. She said, just visit the Boone plantation. And brother, you said y'all may do in the future tours again. And I would like to go, so I would have to have your email, and I can give you mine. If you put your email information, I sure would appreciate that. I couldn't catch it, but y'all are part of the American Islamic Heritage, right? Or that's somebody else?
Yes, museum, yes, yes.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop right there, but it's very, very, very interesting, brother. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
It's that one little.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Brother Anthony, for that. Okay, up next, we're going to go to the phone lines. We had Sister Zelly with 770, then we'll go to 347 next. Sister Zelly?
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Muhammad Amir. Alhamdulillah, brother. You might not, I know you know me in some way in the form or fashion, but yes, I came into Washington, D.C., and the museum you have down on is called Martin Luther King Drive now was at one point was Nicholas Avenue. I was so thankful. My nephew went with me, and he lives in Washington, D.C. But my point is, brother, you took me on such a beautiful, beautiful journey. May Allah continue to bless you. I'm on the phone. I didn't even have to see anything. The way you shared with us, brother, it was so real. May Allah continue to bless you. Yes, I really want to be a part of that Travelers Club, whatever you want to call it. Yes, and the way we travel with the family, I want to be able to do that again with you, and inshallah. I want to mention quickly, is you finding information in reference to Cordelia, the watermelon capital of the world? That is another part of history. Have you been able to venture into that part? If not, it's still all good, which you share with us. And they call rice our comfort food. I never liked rice so much until I came to the South. And when you talked about the rice, so many wonderful things you talked about the food. I guess that's pardon me?
No, I haven't been to the watermelon one. I guess that's another goal.
Yes.
Allah says, travel throughout the earth, see what was before you, so we can learn our lessons. And we can learn our lessons so we don't make the same mistakes twice.
Because that watermelon, one of the most famous things for our bodies, is so healthy for our bodies, brothers and sisters. So I just wanted to mention that, how important watermelon is in our diet. But brother, I'm not going to hold you. I'm just so grateful to Allah. I stayed on this full time, and I thank you so much. May Allah continue to bless you and all your endeavors of good. Thank you. I'm Sister Zelly in Stone Mountain, Georgia now. Alhamdulillah. I'm from the Omar family.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. We love you, sister.
Alhamdulillah. We love you back. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Next, we have on the phone line too, we have 347. Go ahead. And after 347, I believe we have Sister Anna. Go ahead.
Mahasan.
Go ahead, Sister Mahasan.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, brother.
I see Brother Anthony.
Assalamu alaikum.
My son.
Yes, this is Sister Mahasan Abdul Salam. I so appreciated. I concur exactly with Sister Zelly because I'm not on the Zoom. I'm on the phone, and you literally provided an out-of-body experience for us. It was transparent for me, the spirit. Couple of things I just wanted to mention. You, our forefathers were given certain protections. This is in the Quran. I'm not going to go deeply into it, but they were protective things for us because Allah knew what experience enslavement would hold in our evolution as a people. So while you were talking, I kept hearing your forefathers in your spirit. And there was certain emphasis you would put on things, but I felt as though someone was speaking through you. And there's so many remarkable experiences that if we have the faith that Allah calls us to, that He will give us in recapturing anything we consider lost humanity. And not only will, inshallah, we be able to recapture it ourselves for ourselves, as you are talking and giving us a tour, but this will benefit the world, as Imam Ward II said. The world needs to hear and be taken on this visual or auditory, whatever kind of tour that you can provide. I'm going to stop. I'll await your contact information at the end, inshallah, so that I can have a further conversation with you. But may Allah bless you. You've added so much to our ascendancy in our participation and in Al-Islam. Thank you. We love you dearly.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, sister, for your kind and enlightening and inspiring words and expression. I am humbled.
We got, all right, Sister Anna, then Brother Anthony. Go ahead, Sister Anna.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I too, since I was raised on James Island, I am a Geechee Gullah. And I literally was walking through my childhood again. I'm 71 years young, and everything that you talked about, the mores, the culture, I had never heard anyone mention seeking. Only those of us who were children and from that island, we know what seeking is. But for you to have mentioned it, now I could bear witness that seeking is when we turned 12 years old. We were told as Geechee Gullah children that our parents no longer were responsible for our sins, and that like Christ Jesus at 12 started his ministry, we would have to seek God for ourselves and ask him forgiveness from this point, that point on. And I did have that experience of my grandmother taking me to her spiritualist and telling them the dreams, and eventually they interpreted the dreams for me, for my grandmother, because I was only 12. And in the result, my grandmother were in the dream interpreted as my spiritual person who were to protect my soul and guide me. And I was baptized as an African Methodist because that was what my grandmother was. So whatever your spiritual person is, that's where you get baptized. So that's how I became African Methodist as a child. So that was so powerful because I only mentioned seeking, because today all you do is go to church or these religious settings and say, you know, yeah, but we had to seek in that as 12-year-old children. We turned to the east. We were taught that we had to turn to the east during lunchtime. We would go into a corner that faced the east on the playground, and we had to say a prayer. We had to get up what we call Fajr now. I didn't know that then, Me and my cousins, we had to get up before sunrise and go into what they call the wilderness. We went into our neighbor's field and said our prayers. And so it's all I gotta say is I bear witness. I live the life and I go home, which is James Island, and everything you're saying and have said, and our dear brother from New Jersey, Brother Shaheed, he is also a researcher in the culture, and you and him together always take me. Well, he always takes us on this journey. But I want you to know that the drumming part as a child. My grandmother lived next door to Mr. Wilson, who was in charge of the drumming. And when anyone passed away on the island, we lived on Soligree Road. And everyone, I used to see my grandmother, everybody would wake up and the drum would tell the community that someone had passed. And the way they didn't have phones then, maybe one or two phones in the neighborhood, but they would pass the word down. So and so passed, so and so passed. And by the end of that night, everyone would have learned who had lost a family member. And I just want to bear witness that the Geechee Gullah, the word Gullah means people anointed by God. And those particular people that came from West Africa, they were generally the spiritual people within the village. And so you'll find the people, the Geechee Gullah, have a high or a very intense leaning toward spirituality. Most of my family members are either preachers or teachers or nurses. They're in that service area. So I'm gonna stop right now, but I want to bear witness that everything this scholar have mentioned is accurate. You could go there. The library, I mean, the museum just opened up, the one right off of Wapu, right there on James Island. And all of the plantation now is a historical tourist place. My husband and I, Brother Lazan, we were there, and I hugged the witness tree. You could feel the energy of our ancestors. All I could do was just hug the tree. I couldn't speak. All I could do was just hold the tree as much as I can. It was so wide that it would take 2 or 3 people to circulate it. But I just want to say thank you, and I cannot in any way give a summary of what you said. All I'm sharing is what I actually am, what I live. And you mentioned those things. And
Sister, I bear witness. Pardon me.
Yeah.
I bear witness to what you said. You are, and I pray and I hope that what you said was recorded, because that is actual fact.
Yes,
That you heard.
I live it, so it's not anything. It's like the Quran.
What you expressed.
I could repeat this, because when truth, al-haq, when you have truth, it's nothing to do but to speak.
We are recording it, and if it's okay with Sister Anna, when we get a chance, we're gonna go back and make sure Brother Amir gets a copy.
Yes. And I would like
I can feel his joy just listening to you.
And I want to tell you another thing on the street called Soligree, which we as a group, all the families that are there on James Island, these were families who became freed, and once they became freed, they all settled there. And they are farmers and fishermen, And I watched as a little girl, the men, they knitted their own net that they cast into the sea to get the fish and the shrimp. It's an art. And you might have seen some of these nets, heavy. They had like steel balls at the end, and the circumference when they threw it out might have been 20 feet or more in diameter. And they were on the porch, and this is how they prepared their tool to go fishing, and the boats too they built. And I come from a community. That's why it was so easy for me to become Muslim at 19, because we all did for self. I saw my uncle and my cousins and them built their home, and whoever was the electrician. I know what community life is. I lived it. And my grandmother never had to go to a department store to buy me dresses and things for school, because Miss Sarah was our local tailor and she made my dresses. The only thing Mama had to buy was the shoe, you know, things that were harder products. But I only know Black lives. I only know Black men taking care of their family. I only know Black people building their houses and living in it. I only know Black teachers. My whole world was inculcated with me as saying to me, Anna, there's nothing you are who. So I didn't know anything about, by the way, we call, they in the Gullah language, Caucasian back then, were called, my aunt and them call them buckras. Buckras. That's a Gullah word for Caucasian people, buckras. And so I just want you to know it's so much. Mama and them, they taught us to reverence God. Our legacy is to revere God, and our success is in reverencing God. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, like my son.
Okay, up next we have Brother Anthony, then Brother Bashir.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Amir. This is Brother Anthony out of Michigan. And one of the first things comes is that be oppressed no more. I said, because what you brought to us is that no matter what they're saying, they don't want to put in schools or teach their folks there. May Allah protect you and protect your work, and they get it spread far and wide. One of the regrets we have is that I ran into a historian out in Kansas, Kansas, because we thought we were relatives. His last name was Stewart. But then out there in Portland, Oregon, there's another brother that had more history about what he did out west in the settlement and things. So and then keep in touch with them. So that was a regret of mine. But with you, brother, be oppressed no more. This is such a wonderful work that you're doing, and Allah is blessing you with it. I just wanted to mention that, and all the other comments, alhamdulillah. So, but be protected by Allah, and that make sure that your work is being protected, because one of the other two brothers that I knew, they were trying to get all their information, all the relics and stuff. They try to take it from them. So, inshallah, we'll hear from you some more. I'm very interested in this here. And thank Allah for you. Assalamu alaikum.
Like my son.
All right, up next we got Brother Bashir Rahman.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Amir. Just want to say, yes, sir. Just want to say I really appreciate your presentation. I've been to the museum there in Washington, D.C., and you have one exhibit that I really personally like, because you're dealing with a picture of one of our firefighters that was in the community. But I just wanted to also say that I hope that you give information on how people can support the museum and send donations because it's an outstanding museum and we want to continue to support your efforts and to support your work. So please let believers know how we can continue to make donations to support your efforts. Assalamu alaikum.
Bring my son. Thank you, brother. I guess at that point, let me take one commercial break. The American Islamic Heritage Museum, on our webpage, aihmuseum.org, aihmuseum.org. We have on our webpage the development of the museum and our design. We hired a design company to redevelop the museum into a digital museum. So inshallah, when we stepping into the 22nd century. So please, yes, your support is needed. All Muslim support. We could do this. Up you mighty nation, we could accomplish what we will. We could do this with your support. But it's aihmuseum.org. And well as we have a museum app. That is AIH Museum. And you can pull that down from Google Play or Apple. And it has the one finger on it. Dr. Jamil, this next.
Yes, sir. So up next, we have Dr. Jamila Mubarak.
Assalamu alaikum. Oh, I might have. That's okay, brother. I have several instruments open, so I don't know if there's an echo.
Yes, it sounds like you have a couple of devices on, so just mute one of the devices. And also turn the volume down on it too, because even though it's muted, it'll still pick up feedback.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, assalamu alaikum to our esteemed guests. I just wanted to let the brother know. I just wanted to let you know that I'm in Myrtle Beach and we also are part of the Gullah Geechee corridor. And we had our first Gullah Geechee festival down here this summer in Atlantic Beach, which is historical in and of itself. So it's an annual event now. So I pray, inshallah, this coming year that you will visit us in the Pearl, which is Atlantic Beach, right outside of Myrtle Beach. We're about 45 minutes to an hour from all of the historic places that you named. And I'm so impressed with your work. And thank you very much for everything that you have given to us. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, sister. I am putting my information in the chat.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you. That was my next question. And you said this, the app, you say the name of the museum again, Brother Amir?
America's Islamic Heritage Museum. The app is AIH Museum. And our webpage is www.aihmuseum.org.
Excellent. Thank you. So just while you're typing that in the chat, I'm just read some of the comments. Sister Intisar said, Assalamu alaikum. Abundant gratitude for the presentation. She says she looks forward to the tour. She says that the first Sunday at Mosque here has been truly amazing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Most High, continue to bless us. That's from Sister Intisar on the YouTube side. And I don't see any more hands. Are there any more questions or comment for Brother Amir Muhammad? This is a rare opportunity where you have access to a historian of his caliber that is from our community that has our best interest in mind, is that always connects our history back to our origin, Al-Islam. So you don't have to Google it. You have him on the phone, you have him on the line, you have him on the YouTube. So any questions on the YouTube side? If there are any questions on the YouTube side, please enter them into the chat and we'll ask them for you. And on the Zoom side, if you have any questions, this is the time to ask. I see a hand, Dr. Rashida Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thank you so much for your presentation. I saw you mentioned Toni Morrison's bench. I was there when we did that in 2008 and put the bench. The Toni Morrison Society had a convention at the time, and we did we marched to the port of Sullivan's Island, and we had in front of us we had African drummers and hundreds of us that were there for the convention. We marched to the port and we did a libation ceremony for our ancestors. And we even had one ancestor whose relatives came over and came through that port. So it was really remarkable. And thank you for the reminder of what we done. Because I'm a Geechee too. My mama always used to say, she never did explain. She would just say, you know, I'm a Geechee. And and that's where she went through her life saying that, but she never did go into detail. So thank you for the details.
I hear you, sister. My father was embarrassed about it. But after being in, what was I at? Hilton Head, one of the Gullah Geechees programs, they call us Georgia people, those saltwater Geechees. So I guess I'm a saltwater Geechee. I accept that.
Yes, sir.
Allah.
Mashallah. Well, we thank y'all for the opportunity. I don't think there's no more questions. I haven't seen no hands. There's anything else, Adele?
It looks like I don't see any more questions. I have to see.
Brother, I know I'm being, and I can feel the energy from the brain. Why doesn't she shut and let somebody else speak? Well, you know what? I'm gonna be obedient to the ancestors and speak. Brother, yeah, Sister Julia Dash, you know, her dad was Geechee, who with the play, and it was a screen on TV series called Daughters of the Dust, her book. Are you familiar with Julia?
Julia Dash, the Daughters of the Dust.
Yeah.
She does that movie.
Yes, and
well,
in
the movie, for me, it shows how they use psychological warfare to get us out of our faith and our belief. If you look at in that movie,
that's right.
Bilal, they have him dressed like like Western, you know, like American, but he's teaching the boy how to dhikr, how to pray. And the guys are dressed in robes, looking like Muslims, but they're going to get baptized. And they telling they're telling them, look, he's sticking with the old way, the new way, come into the material world. Come get these cars. And remember the big hats and the clothes and things that they was showing from the mainland, trying to show, intimidating us, that we were not culturalized or developed.
Yeah. Well, that was the conflict in the movie was this young sis leaving the island and being, like you say, westernized and coming back and berating the culture in terms of the speech, and you know, it was that whole experience, how she experienced the ancestors letting her know that she needed to be educated back into who she was. Anyway, I just thought of Julia because she had wanted some of the children in the family to be in her movie scene as students in the classroom, but we had to leave and come back to New York. And I think she got some other children from the island, you know, but it's so rich. And this is all of us. See, understand.
Sister Anna, I want to ask you a couple of questions, but you got to be short in your response into your answers. We got to think about it.
Thank you.
Okay. Look, when you say you come from James Island, what plantation? That McCloy?
Well, there's a
plantation
whole
or different
town.
plantation?
I know. I'm gonna give you the answer. the answer that I know of. My grandmother's slave name is Ladson, and it's a whole town when you come off of I-20 called Ladson. So we likely came from that plantation.
Okay.
Based on the name. That was my grandmother's
and I thank you for your response.
Yes. All right. Anything else?
Adele, I gave you a break, brother. You're supposed to grab the mic.
Hey, no, yeah, I thought you had another question for her. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
I started. She did so good. She did so good.
Yeah, yes, sir. And that's the thing. This is our history, and just as Brother Amir presented the history, this history is living. You know, this is a living history, and this is a living future. You know, and the Imam Muhammad II was making comments. We were talking about something, but he mentioned that the Quran and Al-Islam is a living faith. It's a living book. The Quran is living.
Yes.
This deen that we have is living. It's not dead. It's for the living. It's for action. You know, so, and that's the value of these programs and us sharing with each other. And that's the power of community life. And that's what this is, the First Sunday Community Program, the Mosque Cares Ministry of Imam W.D. Muhammad Community Program.
Can I mention something about Imam W.D. in Charleston? Imam W.D. Had gone to Charleston, Brother Idris Muhammad, who a lot of brothers in New York know has patches because he has the unique gray patch right in the front of his hairline. And he single-handedly almost delivered the city of Charleston to Imam Muhammad, to the point Imam Muhammad and the mayor Riley and the police commissioner Robinson had some strong relationship. Imam himself said that he almost considered moving to Charleston. And he also was impressed, Imam Muhammad, that is, that the African American there, over 85% of them owned their home. And this was back in the 90s. And he thought that was such a excellent achievement of those people there, that they were basically homeowners. And when Imam Muhammad turned to Allah, the mayor of Charleston, Riley, sent Idris Muhammad, who is resident of Charleston, on behalf of the city of Charleston, paid for his travel expense and everything to come to Imam Muhammad's janazah on behalf of the government of Charleston.
Yeah, Imam Muhammad, that was around the time he did the lecture down there on Juneteenth. And it was entitled From Africa to America, an Islamic Perspective. We're actually taking that right now. We just did. Imam Elam transferred that VHS to DVD, and he put it in my hand today. And so we plan on uploading it and making it available.
Allahu Akbar.
Because Juneteenth now is a national holiday. So, you know, Imam Muhammad had that vision back then.
That's right.
And he made it a holiday amongst his
way back then.
Supporters. Way back then. Yeah, he did. You right on the money with that. And yeah, Muhammad Idris, I heard from him not too long ago, and he's still doing the dawah work, and I believe he's still in South Carolina. I'm not sure though, but he's around. Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I saw Muhammad Idris at Jumar when I was in South Carolina.
You okay? Yeah, that's where he is. Yeah, yeah. Alhamdulillah. We're gonna hear from him more in the future, I believe. Yeah, when I put this tape out, because I'm gonna call on him, inshallah. call him for his support, you know.
Assalamu alaikum. Muhammad Idris, he's been trying to work with us on our committees, and we'll try to get him on the safest day. He calls me periodically and try to get involved with the mosque cares is doing. So Inshallah.
He's a worker. You gotta let him go. Don't hold him back. Let him
That's
work.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
he's a worker. Yes, sir. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, we want to respect Brother Amir's time and want to respect our Imam's time. And so I believe that's all of the questions and comments, Brother Amir. If you had any, you wanted to conclude with any final remarks for this presentation, you could please do so, and then we'll turn it over to.
I just want to thank the believers and Imam W. Muhammad and you and everyone for allowing us the opportunity to share our experience. I'm humbly thankful, humbly grateful for our community. Thank y'all for the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
And what you see in me, you see in yourself.
Allahu Akbar. That's right.
And briefly, I know you mentioned you were pushing to that we should acknowledge October as Islamic Heritage Month. And I know that was part of the reason why you mentioned a convention why you wanted.
Yes, and we should push this. Islamic Heritage Month should be across the country. Canada already took it. It's our history. Nobody's gonna promote this but us. Nobody. It's Elijah's birthday. It's W.D. Muhammad's birthday.
Yeah.
Who's gonna support that but us?
That's right.
Come on. You know, and then everybody, like the October, today's October the 1st. The only story you have the story of Alexander Russell Webb died on this day.
Yeah.
But you got Jamil Alameen's birthday's in October. The brother Lomax Bey, who is known as Ezzeldin, who started the first Sunni Orthodox Muslim community in the 30s. He's born in October.
Mhm.
We got to do it.
And Sister Clara Muhammad, she's November 2nd.
Yep, we promote. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we got to
Yeah. And
tell our story.
it's our 1 year.
People around the world, they love Muhammad. They love Muhammad Ali. They love Malcolm X.
Right.
They love W.D. Muhammad. Look, they love us. They love how we act. We are one thing. African American people, we are animated. We have energy. We can speak.
Yeah, but we can fill the chairs. Yeah. Our 1 year anniversary for the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, USCMO. It's the 10 year. Oh, I thought it was the anniversary of the okay, yeah. November 15th, right? November 11th is no. I'm talking about the one in October. October 15th. I had it right. October 15th is the 10-year anniversary. Yeah, I thought I said 10 year. Okay, the 10-year anniversary of the first and the largest political organization by American Muslims in America. This founded by Muslim organizations, which now includes a host of shura bodies, grassroots. Anybody can join. So you can go to the USCMO's website. That's the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, and you can join. You can become a member. You can be a voting member, and we don't call ourselves a shura body, but you can vote. There you go. Yeah, see.
Our community. I sent y'all the organization. Jamal, them organization inviting the group.
Okay. Yeah.
To celebrate October as American Islamic Heritage and offer them to suggest that in each locale to promote Islamic Heritage Month, you know, so that eventually, and it's a good tool for the fight against Islamophobia.
That's right.
You know, we don't see it as much or experience it as much, but they could use it as a tool to help fight and counter Islamophobia, to celebrate October, to tell the American
Right. And we vote
Muslim story during October, during the month while the students are in school.
That's right. And we vote on the concerns, so we can voice our concerns as communities if we see circumstances. You know, now our voice is bigger as African American Muslims. You know, their voice is big because that's their concern. But me, right? I'm chairing the organization this year. Last year, year before last, it might have been I was the treasurer for the organization, and this year I'm the chair. So I guarantee you that it'll be mentioned at the banquet. And we have a couple of tables, so I don't think we filled them yet. So they may be full. Yeah, I don't think we filled them yet. So if you all want to be at the celebration at the it's at the O'Hare. This one's at the Doubletree. Yeah. And since I keep mentioning it, it's on my mind, the women's anniversary of the name, what's the title of it? The Muslim Women's Award Banquet is also going to be out here. That's one's going to be not in Oak Brook. That's in at the Sheraton O'Hare. At the Sheraton O'Hare. So you want to get a seat at that table. That's November 11th. That's a women's award, Muslim women, Muslim Women Award Banquet. And I believe that's annual. That was last year too. This is the second one. Yeah. All right. So alhamdulillah. Excellent program. Excellent. I'm done before somebody hands come up. Now I'm like, Amir, Adil, it's your time.
All right. So at this time, we will conclude.
Assalamualaikum, Brother Adil.
Inshallah.
Sister Rashida, I wanted to make a comment. Her phone is open. Rashida Robinson.
Go ahead, Sister Rashida.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
And thank you to the president and Imam Dil. I appreciate this program, but I would like to say to Brother Amir, I grew up in my childhood in Johns Island. I don't know if you have any information of Frogmore, South Carolina, or Johns Island, and I would like to contribute that to you as well. But I'm not Geechee, but I grew up in the community of the Gullah Geechee in Frogmore, South Carolina, and Beaumont and Johns Island. So inshallah, I would like to pass that information on, and to other believers, Assalamu alaikum. It's been beautiful. I've enjoyed the whole experience. It was just awesome. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
And the business directory, Sister Rashida.
I don't know if this is time to talk about the business directory, but inshallah, I'll come back again. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, at this time, we're going to turn over to Imam Elam to close out with dua, inshallah, as he opens us up with dua. We please join us next first Sunday for the November 1st Sunday, which will be November 5th, inshallah. We look forward to seeing you all there November 5th.
Yes. All right. Before I close out and dua, I'd like to give the greetings to Imam Amir. We were there with Warki Muhammad II, his wife, Adil and Hatik. I think we toured your museum and it was an excellent experience. Thank you. We'll close out with dua. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen.